Hey, it's Brett Klika here from BrettKlika.com and the undergroundworkoutmanual.com. Hey, personal trainers out there, let's have a talk today more about the talk principle, about how to use the talk principle, how to get more results out of your clients. There's a couple mistakes that have been made in the personal training industry, and I wish I knew about this earlier in my career. It would have saved me years and years of frustration with both myself and the people that I'm trying to help. So if we can look at today how we can teach more effectively and where we should put our energy to get people results, it's going to help move your career so much far forward in such a shorter amount of time and help you help more people at an earlier phase in your career. So let's look at this. So if I want to create change with people, and that means create results with the people I work with, I talk about the talk principle, and the first part of that talk principle is teach, and we've talked about before some elements of teaching, but I want you to think about this, the difference between psychology and physiology when it comes to training people. So there's a well-known saying, psychology is going to trump physiology every time, and that is absolutely true. I found that to be true in my career. It doesn't matter if I'm working with Olympic athletes, is where I started my career, collegiate athletes, again at the beginning of my career, to everyday moms and pops, to corporate executives from Fortune 500 companies, to professional athletes from football, from baseball, from soccer, from all kinds of different sports. The fact is psychology is going to trump physiology every single time, but what frustrates me is I see a lot of young trainers coming out of school and a lot of trainers that have been in the industry for a long time, and they've hit these roadblocks. They feel they can't help people, they're frustrated, they want to leave the industry. It's because we're not educated on this fact that really about 75% of your results, and it doesn't matter if you're working with a mom and dad, a pro athlete, a child, whoever it is, about 75% of your results are going to be based on things outside of the physiological parameters of your program, your sets, reps, exercise selection, all that. About 75% of those results are going to come outside of that physiological piece. Let's talk about that. So the basic, if you've worked with a lot of people and you realize what actually creates results, what actually is going to create long-term results, whether I'm working, doesn't matter who I'm working with, two main things sort of form the foundation of results. One is adherence. And that means are they coming to see you? Are they coming to the training program? Are they missing sessions? Are they doing what you ask them to do both in the session and outside of the session? So nutrition, are they sticking with the nutrition? Are they sticking to the things that you give them to do outside of home? Maybe warm-ups in the gym, cool-downs in the gym. That is going to be one of the foundations. If we don't have that, we don't have results. That it's plain and simple. No matter what I do physiologically, if I don't have that adherence, I don't get results. Other part of that is voluntary intensity. And this is something that should really turn on a light bulb in everybody. That voluntary intensity is realizing there's a difference between someone who shows up and is with me for an hour or is with me for a month, or if they're actually putting forth that effort. I work with people that have essentially, they've made a mental decision that they've gone as far as they're going to go. So they're not going to say, okay, I'm going to try to lift more weight. I'm going to push myself past this point. They're only willing to go so far. They're not going to focus on the different aspects. And everybody has worked with, and maybe a lot of our clients are like that. But if we can flip that around so they're willing to put more mental effort and focus on what they're doing, learn the things, and commit, get that mind-body connection, these two things, that adherence and the voluntary intensity, those are the two important things. But the question then becomes, and you're asking this right now, how do I get that? How do I get this base of getting results? And all too often the answer is like, oh, well, you just need to go and study more programming. Yeah, you do. You need to understand all the exercise and how they interact with the body, understand physiology, biomechanics, the whole thing. But remember, we're working with a personality here. We're working with a psychological, emotional makeup here, and that's going to drive their action. So if we want to look at the step of how are we going to get that adherence and voluntary intensity, instead of going straight to, well, my physiology, my programming, it comes down to how are you going to develop trust with that person or that team. Actually, this isn't just one-on-one, this is a team, and quite frankly, this is the same process that you as personal trainers are going through to learn about the industry of personal training. If it's myself or anyone else, this is the same process here. If you learn some things about how to be successful, well, first you got to stick with them. You got to stick with them all the time, and you can't just do these methodologies that you learn. You have to actually put forth that mental intensity. So think about how this compares to where you're at and how you learn as well. So to develop trust, first we have to establish ourselves as an expert. Now this is the only part of trust that's about you. And a big mistake that I see is personal trainers come, and I've used the term before, a tidal wave. We come with a tidal wave of knowledge and information, motivation, and we crash down on these people that are coming in to say, hey, I just don't know what I'm doing, and we're hitting them with a megaton bomb when in actuality, they kind of need a pea shooter to start with. So we need to establish ourselves as an expert, but it needs to be an expert to them. So for example, if I go to a mom and she's trying to lose 50 pounds and she's coming in, she's very vulnerable, not really excited about working with a young male who's really fit, and she's just very intimidated, comes into works with me, and I try to sell the fact, well, hey, I'm an Olympic training center. I was a coach at the Olympic Training Center. I worked with some of the world's best athletes. And so, well, that's establishing myself as an expert, but not necessarily for her needs. So it's a matter of being able to be confident in the information you provide, but a part of that is providing relevant information, providing your relevant experience, creating a relevant relationship other than, well, yeah, I usually work with way better people than you. You're lucky enough that I'm working with you. And that doesn't really establish that trust. Empathy, and I can't say enough. There's a fine line between being empathetic and really walking a mile in their shoes and just plain not caring and say, well, you're not going to stick with anything, so I'm not going to worry about it. We do have to realize where our clients are coming from, and I've said this before, if you're a personal trainer, yes, we love exercise. Exercises come easy to us relatively. It makes us feel good. We have a story with exercise. These people don't. Our clients don't have that same story. They don't necessarily share that story with physical activity and exercise, and that's why they're coming to us. So we need to figure out to walk a mile in their shoes. When's the last time you did something that was frustrating? You didn't like to do it, but it was necessary. And for some of us, that's paying bills. For some of us, it might have been learning a new skill or learning how to play the guitar or learning just anything. Think about where you fit into that and think about that process, and that's how we're going to get the empathy. And relatability goes with that. Finding that common ground, because that big wedge between developing trust between a trainer and a client all too often is the client sees the trainer as hundreds of miles different from them. They see the trainer as this fit, vivacious, just super positive, bounces out of bed at 4 a.m, eats perfectly, mega disciplined robot. And so the things that we say might not mean as much if they view us as literally another entity that doesn't relate to them. So it's finding through listening more than you're talking, find the relatable pieces that, yeah, I struggle with that too. My story is this. I've struggled. I know that's hard. So sharing that and having some of that humility to share that, because again, don't be a tidal wave of ego and all that, because we're going to scare people. And I can't emphasize enough listening. I learned that early in my career. I'm a talker, so I hit that tidal wave with people and it scared them away. I didn't get the trust, so I didn't get anything else. So after we've developed trust, they know that we're in it for them. It's not part of our ego. It's not us just relating, well, I used to love to train this way, so I'm going to make you train this way. It's developing that trust and showing them, hey, I'm not going to make you puke. I'm not going to put you in terrible pain. I'm not going to make you do things that humiliate you. I'm not going to make you do things that you can't do. Once you develop that trust through that relationship of listening and becoming and establishing yourself as someone that they and look up to, an expert, that's when the accountability comes in. And accountability is your ability to make sure you're facilitating that adherence. So that even comes, again, this is before physiology. This is before the importance of programming is what is your accountability? So what parameters are you testing? And I learned this, and if you talk to experienced trainers, they've learned this. So we have all these testing protocols, and we can have 5 pages of testing. We can test their VO2, their body fat, their circumferences. Well, that's all great information, but we want relevant information for them. So what's important to them? We may find out after we listen, after we walk a mile in their shoes, we may find out that really they just want to not hate exercise. They want to exercise weekly. They want to, and yeah, the weight loss is there, but they're not willing to knock themselves out and completely change everything yet. To do that, so we have to figure out where is our criteria and hold them to that criteria. So maybe success for them means that they've cut down the amount of wine they drink a night. So hold them accountable to that. Start small. Don't just stick with, well, you didn't lose a pound last week, so you failed. What are some tiny baby steps within there that we could hold them accountable to? Okay, so then that goes with the realistic expectation as well. Realistic for the individual. Again, listen more than you talk, because they'll tell you what they really want. After we really listen, they'll tell them what they really want. And if we deliver what they really want, we establish that rapport, we establish that trust, we get adherence, we get that voluntary intensity, and then we get results. So after we've gone through that communication of accountability, and we figure out what do they really want, how do we hold them accountable to that, what works for them, that's when we move up to our physiology. That's where the programming is very important, because at that point we have that 75% buy-in, and we need that, because if we don't have trust, it doesn't matter. If we don't have their trust, they're not going to be accountable, because they're not going to check in with us, because there's no relatability. They think that we're taking in another direction. If we don't get those things, this base right here, we're not going to get anything. So this is right here, and that physiology kicks in. Once we got this going on, that physiology kicks in as the cherry on top of the sundae. So if we don't have the physiology, well, this stuff isn't really going to do much. But if we don't have this, the physiology is just words on paper. It's just motions they go through. And the physiology is where we go through the programs, the exercises, the sets, the reps. But again, keep it relevant regardless of what you read, regardless of what so-and-so does, keep it relevant. So 75% of what we do is that psychological piece, 25% is physiology. Adjust your communication to account for that. Adjust the way you design your programs to account for that. Adjust your day-to-day to account for that. And if you want to read books to improve yourself as a personal trainer, read books, look at literature, find resources that are going to help you improve this piece of it, which a lot of that goes into the business development of being a personal trainer. How do we develop that relationship with our clients? Read up on that. And then also we need to read up on the physiology. But again, remember, it's going to come from this ability. So again, combine those to be able to teach people better, following that framework of the talk principle to help more people. Try that. Start focusing on those principles and realize that's where results come from. You talk to trainers that have gotten results with people and changed millions of lives around the world. These are the same things that they're going to tell you. So get out there, sweat, smile, and sustain. Talk, teach, get better every single day. This is Brett Klika with BrettKlika.com. I hope to see you soon.